Hi everybody, welcome to the second tutorial for the interface programming week. What you see here basically is the continuation of what we did last time when I explained a little bit about how Unity works, what it is, and basically what I'm going to show you here is just a simple implementation of a small interface with a simple sensor. In this case I will be using a ultrasonic sensor. We will get input, for example, to control 3D objects. So for example, if I press this button, you can see that I can control with the sensor. It is a little jumpy, but basically I'm getting values from a sensor, as you can see in the video that I am attaching right now. So basically, as I was explaining before, what I will show you is how to basically control or basically interact with a simple interface and any of your boards. In this case, using the ultrasonic, but you can use pretty much whatever you want, because the as I will explain, the methodology or the pipeline is similar. So let's start building this. The first thing that I'm going to do, I am going to delete everything because we're going to produce this from scratch. And we have our scene, and basically we have a light, we have a camera. We're just gonna leave the light and the camera as they are. And we are going to start creating an object. Right click here, game object. We will change this and we will call this serial com for serial communication. And we will create, even though I have a script, I will program it from scratch for you. So basically we're gonna call this serial com. We are going to open Visual Studio, and what we have here is what I explained last time. So let's start basically defining the things that we need. Using system.io.ports. Basically this will give us the possibility of using serial communication. Basically with this we will read we can basically create a serial port. For this it's really important to change some settings for .NET. And basically this is the following. You can go to your project. If you go to build settings, player settings, in the inspector you will see this menu that is called other settings, and in configuration you should have the same thing as I have it right now. So basically this says like scripting runtime version .NET for .x, and the API compatibility level also should be .NET for .x. Don't change it to .NET standard, just use this one. If you have any problems, just ask me and I will help you. So if you have this, you will not have any problems when you write the code. So the first things that we are going to do, we are going to declare some variables. In Unity, if you want to have your code like smooth, you can say like region parameters or variables, and then you said, for example, and region, and this will allow you then to collapse this, but I will do it like this. So we will start, for example, with a public string port, and here you need to input the port name. So as I explained probably in the previous video, for example here, you can see which port are you using with your device, with your board. If you go to Tools, Port, and here you will see that I am using CU.USB modem 143201. This is an Arduino Uno that I'm using for the tutorial purposes. On Windows, for example, you will see COM3, COM9, COM13, whatever. In Mac, it's a little bit more complicated also, and if you're using Linux. So if you want to know what are you using, you can open just a terminal and input this line of code. ls and basically this, and you will see that the name of your device shows up here, and this is what you should copy, and then you should for now write it here, basically because this is a public variable. We will be able to change this even in our interface. So you see everything looks quite okay. Oh, and this is giving me an error because of course the parentheses should go here. So now what should we do? Also we need to it will be very well organized. So this is port name. We are going to also set the port speed in BPS. So we will do here a public int speed. Actually, we'll call it baud rate, and this will be for now this number. And finally, declare the serial port, and in this case we will do private serial port, and we will call this port, or actually we can call it SP. What else? We will declare Boolean variable for reading values. So in this case we will say that this is a bool is streaming, and we will set this to false by default, and also we will declare a public game. This is the geometry to modify. This can be pretty much whatever you want. We will declare it as a public game object sphere, SPH. And okay, let's do it. We will leave the start routine as is, and we will declare a definition, a function that opens the serial port and set the program to read values from it. How do we do this? We say that this is a public void. I will explain why this is a public function. Public void, we will call it open. And we will set streaming to true, because basically what we are going to do, we're going to add a button that will execute this function. It will set is streaming to true because this is basically the condition to start doing things. So now we will say that SP is a new serial port, and we pass as the arguments the port and and baud rate. So basically this will create a serial port with at this port and at this speed that was set here. And also we will set some parameters. Sorry, you can say here speed dot read timeout 100 in case we don't have a successful communication, and here we will say speed dot open. Basically this will start, this opens the serial port to get the values. This opens the serial port actually. We are not getting the values. And we can say if we have a successful connection, debug.log port was open successfully. Pretty nice. So now we need to write a function that will start reading values from Arduino. So for that we will do public string read from Arduino, or basically like read serial port, read serial port. We're gonna set a timeout equals 50, for example. And basically you see that this is an error because we need to return something. So let's implement this function. We will create a string message, a variable that is a string, and we will say stream that sorry, not stream, sp dot read timeout timeout, just in case. And here we will try to read values from our serial port. How do we do this? So basically we say try, we will try something, and the sense that we will try to read this, we will say that message equals to sp.readLine. Basically this will read what we are going to write to our serial port, and this will return if this is successful, our try is successful. We will return that message, and we will say catch in case this is not successful. We'll say like timeout exception, and we will say here return null. Basically we won't return anything. Also we should do this is giving me an error. Let me see what the error is. Catch timeout exception. Let's see what it is. Right now I don't know what the error is, but that's okay. Also we will add a function that is a public void close, that in case we want to do it, we can do basically we can closes the serial port in case we don't want to read more values. Maybe it's the way that I wrote it. no, something is not working here. Public string. I think it's fine. Let's see what error is giving me. It's fine. We will deal with it later. So now, basically what we want to do is in the update function, we will move this up. After start, we can say the following thing. We can say that if is streaming, basically if this value that we're modifying here, it's true, string, maybe basically one can create, value, and we can say read serial port, and with this basically we are storing the value of read serial port into this parameter value, and we will say if value is not null, basically it's not an invalid value, and flow.parse value is more than 1.0 f, we will debug that log. Basically we will print this in the console of Unity value, and we will, for now we will do something else. I mean, we will leave this here. Now I'm a little bit worried about this, but we will deal with it later. So make sure that you have the right imports. As I was saying, we're basically using Unity Engine, system collections, and system.io.ports. Please check this part of the code because that was giving me that error in the timeout exception. So basically now if we don't get any value, the program will not crash because we're just trying. The program is trying to see if we're getting a value from our serial port. So right now we are ready to basically build this. If you go here, build all, you will be able to just go to Unity and attach this to the serial.com object. You can do it from like several ways. So for example, if you click here and add component, you write serial, and you see that this appears here. And this is pretty cool because right now we have the possibility of just changing our port. So for example, if you are on Windows, you can just write COM19, or in Mac, because this is like pretty annoying that you have to basically write this long string, this long text. To change your serial port, you just can do it like really easy. And also the speed, if you need more speed of reading your serial port, you do this. Right now we're just working at 9600, and here you see that this is SPH. This is our public game object, and it says that there's nothing here. So this is the following thing that we are going to do. For like purposes of this tutorial, I just modify something on the camera. If you select camera, here where it says camera clear flags, you just can put like solid color instead of skybox, which is pretty annoying. Solid color, and you can select a color. So you see in camera preview showing you the color of our UI. So now we are going to do two things. We are going to right click here in the hierarchy, and we are going to create a 3D object. It's a sphere, and this sphere, basically we select the camera, is visible but is kind of I don't know, not in a center position. So we can set this probably to 0, 0, 0. Let's see how it is right now. More or less center, so we will put it up a little bit. That's fine, in the middle of the screen. And this is a game object sphere. So if we go to serial communication, we will see that we have a slot where we can just drag sphere, and basically this will be attached. This object will be attached, and we can access this object's properties through our script. But as I was saying, I have a sensor streaming values from the serial port. So the first thing that we want to do is to test if this is working. But we cannot do it because basically if we check the code, the function that basically starts like creating the serial port and streaming the values is not called anywhere. So for debugging purposes, we can go to start function and we can say open. Basically this will create the port and start the readings. Why will start the readings? Because remember we have this function that said is streaming to true, and in the update loop, if is streaming is true, this will start reading the values. We will control this later with a button because it's more convenient. For now we need to test, so remember just to save and build your code. Go back to Unity, and in the console let's see what happens. So probably we're gonna get yeah, we're getting values. You see, we're getting a reading, and if I right now I'm holding my hand on top of this ultrasonic sensor, and we're getting like pretty nice values. So it's reading pretty well. Yeah, that's nice. So that is working. We have established communication. So you see when I stop the execution of the program, it says that port was opened successfully, and we started getting nice readings. We can clear this, and now let's add some UI components. If you right click here in hierarchy and then you go to UI, we can create first a button. And basically what happens here, you see that your sphere is like pretty small compared to this object here, which is called a canvas. I'm gonna change this. This is a canvas, and basically this is what your screen will see. So for tutorial purposes, I will just move this game thing to this part of the screen, and I will press the 2D button that's over here, and I can drag this UI element. You see, it's pretty nice. So now we have the button in our game environment, let's say, and this is a UI element that is overlaid on our screen. Basically it appears on top of all the 3D environments. So we can change, for example, the size of the button. We can do cool things such as I will show you. If you go to Google, for example, if you say like button PNG, you can find some assets that you can import. I don't know, all buttons seems like pretty ugly, but let's try to find one that is not too bad actually. Maybe this one. Let's go here. Oh, we have like pretty cool buttons. I hope we can download this, a PNG file. We are going to save it, and I saved that on my desktop. So if I go to desktop, the button is here, and as I explained in the previous tutorial, actually it's pretty convenient to have image folder, I will access it, and I can just drag this asset here. And if I click on this asset, I can go to the inspector and say that this is a sprite, because this is now an image. But if I want to use it as a UI element, I should define it, or I must define it as a sprite. So I do this. I will leave everything as is. So you see now that after I set it as a sprite, all the background is transparent. This will give me the possibility to select the button in the hierarchy, see the properties in the inspector, and where it says source image, I can click this small button on the right and select this as our button. Not the best, but good enough. So let's say this is 55 by 55 pixels. We have in the button a property for the name, so it's like start reading, for example, and we can set the size of the text a little bit smaller, like this. And now our UI, actually I will move it back here, is like this. So actually I can make it a little bit bigger, 120 by 120. The text, let me modify it again, maybe yeah, that's way better. So you see now we have this element that we can press, and for example, if I start this program, I can click on this element. You see, if I click, something must happen. Nothing is happening because we need to assign a functionality to this button. So if we select the button, we can go where it says like button, and on click we can press plus. We can drag our serial COM object into this slot or select it from here. So if we select this button, we see a lot of objects, and we should select serial COM. And basically what this creates, or what happens now, is that because we have this object selected, we can access to the script, to the piece of code that is attached to serial COM. So if we go back to button, on click, we will see listed in this list, in this drop-down menu, the serial COM script, and we have access to all the public functions. So in this case, we see here is open. So what will happen is that on click, when we click this button, we will go to the code of serial COM and start that function, execute that function. So for that, we need to just modify the start function, and we will comment this so it doesn't execute at the beginning. And also, if it's reading, we will do something that is quite cool actually. Remember that our sphere is called SPH, that transform that dot we can say local scale, and that will be equal to a new vector 3, and we will parse the value of the message, parse and value. And basically we will copy this. These are the X and Y values for the scale transform that we are applying. Scale in and uniform way our sphere according to serial values. So basically what we are doing here, we are sorry, I should do this in the update here, not in the open. So basically what we're doing here, we are saying that the SPH transform that local scale, and if we go to Unity, we select the sphere, basically is that sphere, SPH, transform scale, in this case the local scale, has values or is defined by values x, y, and z, and we are modifying that through a new vector 3. So this is what we're saying. You see, like sphere, transform, local scale, and we are saying that this is equal to a new vector. Basically, we're creating a new value where the x value is we are converting a string, basically a word or a set of characters, into a float number for each of the parameters of the new vector. And if we compile this and now we execute, remember I have my sensor working and streaming values, nothing is happening. We don't see anything in the console, because now if we press this button, you see, boom, it starts reading the values from my Arduino, and this is actually from my sensor, and this is quite cool because, as you can see in the video that I'm putting here, I am just reading the different values to control this sphere. And basically you can do this with any type of object. So I will do just one more thing that will be like quite cool. I will stop this. I will go to my code. First, actually, I will go to hierarchy, right click, UI, text, and I will create a text object that is in here, and we can basically change this to a nice, for example, like white color. You can add different type of fonts also as an asset, and I will do this really big, and I can say like this is how to make almost anything 2019. Let's do this like fall 2019, and we can create, actually it's a good practice here if you name your objects correctly. It's like open com, and this is a text, so basically I will say that this is a txt title, and I will add another text. I will say like it will be called values, and I will put it here. This will be completely white, and I will say that this is like values or current value, for example. Now I can go to my code and I can declare this as another text to modify. I can say that this is a public game object txt, and here we can say that txt.text equals to txt dot actually yes, it's the way I did it, it's wrong. Actually we need to go to Unity Engine using Unity Engine .ui, because in that way we will have access to the UI elements. So in this case what we can do now is go here. Sorry, this is not a game object, this is a text object, of course. So now we have this is a text object, and we will say that txt.text equals to current value. This should be with like this, current value plus, and we can now parse this. Actually we don't need to parse the string, actually we can just say value because it's a string already. So this will update the text in the UI. If we compile this again, and if we go to Unity, basically we just build it, and if we go to serial communication, now we see that we have another slot for a text object, and we will just drag this to values. I can execute this now, and if I start reading, we see that we have live the values that we're getting from our sensor, and we are updating everything from our nice UI. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please open an issue on try to name me on GitLab, otherwise I won't get the message, or let me know through email to dipinoch@mit.edu if you have any questions on how to implement this. Actually, I will not I will do one more thing actually, and that will be the end of the tutorial. If we go to build settings, we can compile this as a app, for example for iOS, Android, or whatever. But right now, if we go to add open scenes, this is our sample scene that we should have renamed, and if we just say build, this will ask us, okay, can you set please a destination for your app, and we will do serial. We will save this, and this will actually create an application, a full application that we can send to to a person. And so some more work is needed because this won't work by default, because we need to basically add an input for the serial port in case you execute this in another computer. But you see that when we have this is a Mac application, or it can be a Windows one. We will say that this is 800 by 600. This is a window application, and if we press play, this will open a Unity thing. Because of the resolution, it looks kind of funky. But if we press start, you see that our application is working as a standalone thing. We don't need Unity open to actually do it. The beauty of doing something like this, just let me do one thing. It's bugging me with some stuff. We can, for example, say, okay, this is a WebGL application. So basically, if we switch platform, I hope it doesn't give us any type of oh, now it's giving us a problem. Probably we cannot do it as a WebGL. I can find a way of doing this. Oh yes, it changed automatically the compatibility, the API compatibility to .NET 2.x. And in this case, remember at the beginning of the video I said you need .NET 4x. So now we're good again. Let's see if this works. I didn't test it. It just occurred to me that it could be like a nice thing to do. So this will be how to make almost anything. WebGL Save, and this will compile everything again. It's a very, very simple program. Let's see if it works. It should work. If you're an iOS developer or an Android developer or Facebook developer or something like that, if you have an account, you can basically use Unity to actually upload this to your phone. The way it can work, for example, if you create a local network and a server, for example with a Flask server or using sockets, you can actually broadcast this. I've done this using my cell phone, using, for example, multiplayer game services such as PUN or Unity Cloud, Unity Network, and actually it works really well. So you can access your application and control your devices from anywhere in the world. I can show you examples if you're interested in doing that. It's a little bit more complicated and takes more time, but it works. So let's see if this okay, so now if we check, I just built the website, and if I go to desktop, you can see that this is the output of building it for WebGL. The only consideration that you need to have is that the browser, if you try to open it, for example, with Google Chrome, it will say that your browser does not support running WebGL content from files. So basically this is from a local file system. So if you upload this to a server or FTP or browser, or you try a different browser, but actually this is what happens, you will be able to run your program. Right now, because I'm reading the file from a local shared file, it will not let me run it. So let me see if I can run it on Firefox. Yes, so on Firefox I am able to run it. You see it's working, and it's because if you go to Firefox and you go to about config, and if you go to privacy, and you will find this privacy file unique origin, and if you toggle this to false, you will be able to run Unity applications. So now, for example, I don't know, probably we need to change something else. Let me see the console. Yeah, apparently we cannot run the thing, but I mean it was worth trying. Maybe I can check a way of making it work, but I mean at least you know that you can compile this for. Yeah, actually this is not supported actually if we see the console, but that's fine. There are many ways that you can output your program. I will just change it back to Mac as a platform. You can see that from here you can change it to either macOS, Windows, or Linux, and it will work out of the shelf. So thank you very much, and I hope this is good for you.